Well, big things are happening at the Air Mobility Command Museum in Dover, and we mean big.
One of the military's C-5s is parked on the tarmac, ready for visitors to come admire her, and Brian Spiros stopped by the museum to take us aboard the aircraft.
Well, Jimmy and Lisa, the C-5 is now part of a permanent display here at the museum. As a matter of fact, this is the only museum in the entire world where you can get an up-close look at this massive aircraft.
It's an aircraft that most people only get to see from afar. But now you can get an up-close look at a military aircraft that's made its mark on U.S. history, the C-5A. And you'll find it here on Delmarva at the Air Mobility Command Museum, which sits right next to Dover Air Force Base.
This is the right place to have it. We are the only museum in the United States dedicated to airlift and air refueling. And C-5s have been the longest serving aircraft type ever at Dover Air Force Base.
Michael Leister is the director of the museum. He says they've been waiting since 1987 to add the C-5 to the museum's collection of more than 30 military aircraft. This past August, she was officially retired from service and arrived at the Dover Air Force Base.
Earlier C-5s have instrumentation and engines that are from the 1960s. There's only so much money to spend to upgrade aircraft. The new C-5M models have much more powerful engines and have glass cockpits just like modern airliners do. So we've been retiring the older aircraft that do not have the major modifications, and we were able to choose from among those airplanes one that had a very significant history to bring here to Dover.
And this C-5 has quite a bit of history. Michael says this is the only C-5 to ever drop what you see here, an intercontinental ballistic missile. He adds the aircraft was also the first factory-delivered C-5 to Dover Air Force Base. And for David Doyle of Felton, he knows this aircraft all too well. He flew on board as a flight engineer for 22 years. Based out of Dover, he traveled all over the world, logging thousands of hours of flight time.
It's hard to fathom the difference in how many years that was, how long ago that was.
David climbed on board the C-5 with us and went right to the seat he once sat in. This is the first time he's been back in the cockpit of the C-5 since the day he retired.
So Dave, you being in here right now in this cockpit must bring back a lot of memories.
Yes, it does, and the most memorable one is the last time I flew on a C-5 was the day President Clinton took office in 1993.
And David will be spending quite a bit of time with this aircraft. He's a volunteer at the Air Mobility Command Museum and gives tours to visitors. He says they will be in awe of the C-5.
It depends on the wow factor, the reaction you get out of those people. Then you can start telling your war stories, what happened to you on this aircraft over time.
Getting the C-5 into position at the museum was no easy task.
All the fuel had to be taken out, which was several 100,000 pounds, and we had to clean the fuel tanks to the point that you could light a match inside and it would not burn. So everything had to be made safe before we could bring it to the museum. Plus we had to put almost 60,000 pounds of concrete on board. C-5s like to fly, and if we wouldn't have had all that extra weight, the airplane would tend to go somewhere in a thunderstorm.
If that's not enough, nearly 24 planes had to be moved around so the C-5 could be positioned into place. Just take a look at this time-lapse video, which shows all the work that went into it.
The other day we did 19 tow jobs in one day just to get this airplane back in to this corner, which we had specially paved a few years ago, anticipating a C-5 coming here.
After all the hard work, she's now in position. An aircraft that carried cargo, military gear, and thousands of troops has now found a home here at the Air Mobility Command Museum, not far from aircraft just like her that take to the sky each and every day.
Certainly a remarkable aircraft. You know, before the C-5 came here to Dover, it was also in Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, and California. And if you have a chance, come on out and take a look at it here at the museum because it is certainly impressive. With that said, Jimmy and Lisa, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Wow.
That's all we can say is wow. Well, could be a great place to take visiting relatives over the holiday season, which is not too far away.
And of course, you know what that means. It's shopping time. Chances are, though, you want to stick to a budget. Well, we have some scientifically tested tips that can help you.
Well, one way to save money is to know how to crack the code on price tags. There's a formula many big retailers probably don't want you to know. We'll share it with you.
But first, we spend so much time in the kitchen, not only cooking, but cleaning. Rachel Ray has another handy how-to tip on how to clean your cutting board.
If you love to cook, a large cutting board is an essential. Here's how you care for it. To clean the board, disinfect it with kosher salts. Remove the color and the fragrance with lemon juice. And then, to keep the board cured, rub a little oil in, like coconut oil. When you store it on its sides so it doesn't warp. And remember to cut evenly on both sides so you'll have even wear.